Hello students. Day before yesterday we studied one very important concept of how to decide a balanced capital structure. That is how to strike a good balance between debt and equity within our capital structure. Now that is the proportion of debt and equity has two criteria to get decided. First is EPS and second is return on investment. Through this table here, which is shown on the screen, is about earning per share, and then we also calculated ROI. Today we will go through the factors affecting those capital structure decisions. Before we move ahead, let us revise quickly. In the the day before yesterday's class, we studied one homework question, that is, we decreased our earning before interest and tax from 4 lakhs to 2 lakhs, and then other thing remaining the same. So first we would deduct interest from 2 lakhs, the interest that has to be paid to bank because we had taken some funds from it, and then we come out with three options. In option 1 we do not take any debt, in option 2 we take debt of 10 lakhs, and in option 3 we take the debt of 20 lakhs, so making our total requirement of 30 lakhs for our various long term and short term purposes. So from our earning before interest and tax, we would first deduct interest, then we would deduct the tax liability, that is 30% corporate tax. Both of this information, that is interest on bank loan 10% and tax liability of 30%, would be generally given in the question, but not necessarily in the same ratio. Bank interest also can change, as well as the tax liability from 30% to 40% also can be given in some of the cases. After deducting interest on bank loan or any other debt like debenture or preference shares, we will be deducting taxes. Then whatever is the earning remaining is known as our profit after tax or earning after interest and tax. Now that amount would be used to calculate earning per share. So earning per share would be obtained by dividing EAIT, that is earning after interest and tax, by share capital or number of shares, that would be one and the same. Here we have shown EPS in percentages, that is in first option 4.66%, in second option 3.5%. So we can observe that the company has lesser income, and so in the second option the presence of debt becomes a nightmare for the company because it reduces the EPS as compared to the first position in which we have EPS of 4.66%. So here in this case, since earning of the company is less, it should not have debt component in its capital structure. It is advisable to have only equity structure, right? While in the previous case, this one, when we had earning of 4 lakhs, at the time our EPS kept on increasing with the inclusion of debt. So it depends on EPS, or in other words it depends on your earning capabilities, that how much debt you should be including in your capital structure, because if you keep on taking the debt over and above a certain limit, it would result into a finance risk or default risk, like here in the third option of 2 lakhs of rupees, same EBIT, but since they have less amount of earning and more amount of debt, they are having nothing to pay to the equity shareholders, that is their earning per share is 0. So in this case, inclusion of debt or gearing the capital structure or having a leverage in the capital structure is truly not advisable. Having done this, let us go through some of the observations. The first observation is, higher the debt, lower is the cost of capital, because the interest payable on debt is tax deductible, as we had seen in this slide. See the third option, the tax liability is minimal, 60,000 only, as compared to option 1 and option 2, right? Second observation, higher the debt, higher is the earning per share of equity shareholders, provided that the ROI is higher than the cost of debt. Now see the last and second last point. The second last point belongs to the first 4 lakhs wala earning wala case, in which our return on investment is 13.33, while we had to pay only 10 rupees to the debt holders. So our ROI is greater than our repayment obligations. So in this case, inclusion of debt is favorable. But in the second case, wherein our ROI is only 6.7%, which is less than what we have to pay to the bank as an interest, that was 10%. So here we are paying more than what we are earning. So here in the second case, inclusion of debt is clearly not suggested. Third point, higher the debt, higher is the financial leverage and riskier is the business. The risk of, there is only one risk here, that is the risk of having becoming a defaulter in repayment of payment or interest payment or principal payment obligations. Higher the debt, higher is the financial leverage. Financial leverage means you will be paying more to your equity shareholders in form of EPS, trading on equity, right? But at the same time, if you do not maintain your earning level and you keep on including your debt, keep on increasing your debt in your capital structure, you might face finance or default risk. Fourth point, higher the, it's not death, it's debt. Higher the debt, lower is the tax liability, leading to reduced cost of capital. We have already seen this, because tax is interest on any debt, that is debentures or bank loans or any other external fund or external debt, is tax deductible. So more debt you have, lesser tax you have to pay. So the first sentence here, the higher debt, lower is the cost of capital, is asked in MCQ frequently. Even I had sent one slide of this, one photograph of it, in which the question was the cheapest source of capital, and then 4 options were given. One of them was retained earning and the other was debt or debenture or bank loan, right? मुझे याद नहीं, I think it was debenture. So always select any option which has debt portion into it, and that is clearly not retained earning, because retained earning has an opportunity cost, while debt or debenture will be tax deductible. The interest on it would be tax deductible, so it is the cheapest source. Now we will see the factors affecting capital structure decision. So what we have learned till now is the capital structure and what should be the optimal capital structure, what should be the proportion of debt and equity into our ideal capital structure, right? But before we decide how much debt and how much equity should we have, there are certain points we have to bear in mind. That is known as factors affecting capital structure decision. As I had discussed day before yesterday, this is our fourth factors affecting. First was of investment decision, second was of financial decision, and third was of dividend decision. We studied 3 kinds of factors affecting, and this is fourth kind of, and 2 more to see. So please listen carefully and try to understand each of this, because this can be asked in case studies randomly as well as for 6 marks, right? We do not know which 6 points would be asked, but randomly any can be asked in form of a case study. So you may not mug up all, but you certainly have to understand all to identify in a given statement that which factor is reflected, right, in a given case study or in a given situation, right? So the first factor is cash flow position. Here, before we decide how much debt and how much equity should we have, we should check our cash balance, because if we have, we always, for example, face shortage of cash, then we might not take lot of debt, because interest repayment would always be in cash, and that has to be paid compulsorily every month, right? Every month you have to pay the installment. So if you do not have sufficient cash in your bank balance, you may not be in a position to pay that monthly or yearly installment. So you must see your cash flow position. So the size of projected cash flow must be considered before borrowing, because cash flow must not only cover your fixed cash payment obligations, but there must be sufficient buffer also. You must have sufficient reserves also. It must be kept in mind that a company has cash payment obligations for normal business operations, or for investment in fixed assets, or for meeting the debt services, that is repayment of interest and dividend of principal. Should not go for much debt, because already they have so many obligations to fulfill every month. So if you have a lot of fixed expenses that would eat up your cash balance, then you should never go for additional debt that would increase or that would add up your fixed expense burden. Second is risk consideration. Use of more debt increases the financial risk or finance risk. That is the inability of a company to repay its fixed financial charges like interest, preference dividend, repayment of principal amount, etc. Or the business risk. Apart from finance risk, there is one more risk called business risk or operating risk. That depends upon fixed operating cost. Now, what are the fixed operating cost? Like your building rent, your salaries that you have to pay to your employees, insurance premium, etc. Now, if those expenses are really high, then you may not go for more fixed expense, that is the interest. So in this point you would write about two types of risk. First is finance risk and second is business risk. Business risk would arise out of fixed operating costs, like apart from finance charges you have certain fixed expenses like paying salaries to your employees or paying insurance premiums, various life and non-life insurance premiums, right? So that would be your fixed expenses. You may not earn enough to cover them, or you may not get direct benefit of it, but you have to incur those expenses. So the total risk would depend upon finance as well as business risk. So if a firm's business risk is low, then its capacity to use the debt is higher, right? Because already your fixed expenses are very less, तो आप interest payment आराम से कर सकते हो. Whereas in case of higher business risk, firm's capacity to use debt is low, because already you are paying lot of fixed expenses in terms of rent and premiums and salaries. So mostly your earning would be spent in that business or operating risk. So you may not buy more of the debt from outsiders, right? I hope you are getting this. I'm trying to give more examples and elaborate, because this is not a face-to-face platform, and I have to ensure that each and everything is clear to you. Third is interest coverage ratio. See, it is known as ICR also, interest coverage ratio, and that is calculated as earning before interest and tax divided by interest. So ICR refers to the number of times earning before interest and tax of the company covers the interest obligation. Assume your EBIT is 100, right? Your numerator is 100 and interest you have to pay is 20. So here you may say 100 by 20 equals 5. So you are capable of paying interest 5 times out of your earning, राइट? एक बार आप इंटरेस्ट करते हो 20 रुपीज़ का इंटरेस्ट पे करते हो, ऐसे ही आप 5 बार पे कर पाओगे, बिकॉज योर EBIT इज 100. सो इट शोज हायर द रेशियो, द लोअर शेल बी द रिस्क ऑफ कंपनी failing to meet its interest payment obligations, right? But this is not an adequate measure, because sometimes your being accountancy students, you would be knowing that many a times our EBIT is high, but our cash flow position or cash balance is quite low. But this ratio only would show how much profit you have, or availability of profit before interest and tax for the repayment of your interest obligations, right? Next point I will be explaining in the next presentation.